is going on, everybody? Welcome in to the North End Podcast, episode 53. My name is Zach Graham, your host here on the North End Podcast, joined, as always, by my good buddy. He's on record as my best friend. His name is Ian Misha. We call him E, a.k.a. Lee James, a.k.a. Sebastian Drew. EC, my groin. A.k.a. Eastradamus, a.k.a. Pat E. O'Daniel, a.k.a. The Fashionista, a.k.a. Chili Willy, a.k.a. Eon Stonkel. Look, I'm not clever enough to come up with a name for your current condition, E. I guess, why don't you start it off? Tell the people what happened to you at the end of Tour de E. Give us the update and the current status.
We were on the last leg of the ride. It was from like the end of the Guadalupe River up to McKinney. Mm-hmm. And I got in my tent around midnight, and I was tired, beat from a long day of riding. I was excited to go to bed. And as soon as I kind of laid down, I was like, damn, I do not feel good. Had definitely one of the worst nights of my life in that little tent, not knowing what was going on, but had to get picked up by a buddy. Shout out to AG for saving me while I was stuck on the road there in a pretty precarious situation. Got home, found out that it was COVID. So that was not great, not the best way to end the ride there. But my buddies finished it out strong, and I'm really happy for them, really proud of them. And I guess, it just means I get to go do the ride again and finish off that last section as a bit of a surprise that I didn't get to see the first time. But powering through it today because the average analysis must go on. I was excited to talk a lot of shit today, but I don't know if I have the energy or the voice to do so. But I will muster up all my strength to insult as many people as I can.
Oh, man. First time with the COVID here, May 2023. You had a good run.
Yeah.
But certainly hitting you hard. So, of course, myself and I'm sure everybody tuning in here, wishing you good health as soon as possible, and just glad you could come here, power through. I mean, it's your flu game here.
That's right.
Your COVID game, whatever you want to call it. But, you know.
It's my flu game for sure. Second greatest basketball player of all time, Michael Jordan. Had his big performance, and I'm ready for mine.
Oh, man. Well, we certainly have a lot to talk about. So I guess I'll try. I'm a little long-winded over here, but no trouble taking on a little bit more of that today, just to maybe help you rest in between takes, trying to maybe get back at some people for slander that has been posted about some of our favorite players over the last couple months. Some guys who showed out last night, and we can go ahead and get into it here. Obviously, the team was out in Portland. First team taking on the Timbers last night, recording here late afternoon on Sunday. So we'll probably get the FC2 lineup here in a little bit, be able to react to that live, and then we'll recap that on, I was going to say Wednesday, but we've got an Open Cup match on Wednesday. So we'll also preview that match on this episode. So we'll on Thursday, I guess we'll recap the match against T2 for FCito and the Open Cup match there. But let's get into Portland. And, we always react to the lineup, kind of go back and try to recollect our thoughts on what we were thinking 45 minutes before the match when we see that 11. But maybe for the first time in recent memory, I was genuinely shocked at the starting lineup. And so let's just start at the top. No captain in there, and talking about 2023 captain in Seba Driussi, not only not in the 11, not on the bench. So obviously there was some confusion amongst us in the group chat, amongst the fan base. I tweeted out something to the effect of, man, I can't believe Driussi just really won't play on turf.
Yeah.
Obviously he's played on turf before, but we've seen his minutes limited, and we have seen him held back in certain circumstances with the knowledge from like Josh saying we didn't take, like, I think going down to the DR, that was his reasoning, was we didn't want to play Driussi on turf down there. So I was very disappointed when I saw that.
Yeah.
And for a different reason from why I ended up being disappointed, because in like minute 2 of the match, Max Bretos, who was on the call on Season Pass last night, said, yeah, Austin's going to be without Driussi for 3 to 4 weeks because of a groin injury. So, I was disappointed from the sense that, like, before we kicked off, before we knew about that news, my thought was like, man, we can't, like, look at Portland. Those guys play on turf at home the whole season. They don't sit out. So, like, I don't know. My mood before the match was like, God, like, I was probably going to come on here and say maybe, like, not mean things about Seba, but, like, come on, brother. Like, we got to get out there. Like, these games mean just as much as all the other ones. But turned out my disappointment turned into just, like, being down on the drive back from our buddy Timmy's wedding, because thinking about him being out for any sort of extended period of time. I think I joked to you, it's like, oh, no big deal. We only our busiest month of the season.
Yeah.
So I guess starting with Driussi, and then we can talk about the other aspects of this lineup. I guess your thoughts were probably similar to mine, but how are you feeling about our leader out for what was reported as 3 to 4 weeks, but then Josh non-committal to a timeline? So how are you feeling about that?
I mean, it's really tough right now. It was a gut punch because it felt like we were just about to be getting back to relative full strength with Julio coming back into the lineup, and obviously a pretty decent prognosis with Fagu. And then to have Seba suffer this groin injury in practice or something along those lines is just really, really frustrating and hard to deal with. Initially, I was the same way. I was like, wow, he really just hates playing on turf, and we're just not going to risk it. And I thought, okay, well, with this month coming up, these amount of games coming up, if he really dislikes it that much, and then we're going to just try to get him some rest here, then so be it.
Yeah, sure.
But worst case scenario obviously comes out during the game there, showing that Seba has suffered this groin injury. In regard to the lineup, it's like, wasn't thrilled to see Lundqvist. I know we touched on that last episode, but the impact of Julio Cascante cannot be understated for this squad. This is a man who just provides so much of the intangibles that we need as a club on the pitch, and getting him back was great. It was like getting a birthday present, and then you open your second present, and it's, I don't know, somebody's pranked you, and it's a Tim Duncan jersey,
or like a fart whistle.
Yeah, oh, that's right. No, those are great gifts.
Oh man.
So yeah, it was tough, man, and we really just can't catch a break right now. It's tough.
Yeah, I mean, and looking at the lineup, like, I certainly have not, my mind has not completely graduated into looking at a list of 10 outfield players with, like, not our normal 11 and being able to say, oh, okay, this is how we're going to line up, whether it's 3 at the back, 4 at the back, 5 at the back. Ended up being the latter there, because we saw Leo and Julio in there. And Julio, to your point, the team clearly knows about the intangibles too and how much he's bringing to the table, because he was wearing the armband, not Alex Ring, who also got the start. So that's where it started to confuse me, that we had the 2 true center backs, what we've been waiting for since week 1. But then Alex was also still in there, and Owen and Danny. So it turned out that we were playing in kind of like a 5-2-3 is, I think, what you would define that as. But both of those wingbacks in Lundy on the left and Johnny G on the right, both of those guys playing in advanced positions throughout the match. So we can talk a little bit more about that when we get into the minutes here. Also had, Rigoni, Redis, Zardes up top. So G does get back in there. And then the bench, you see, no Radovanovic. Apparently he was sick. Kip Keller did make the bench. So another opportunity for Kip to be on the bench for the first team. And then I assume when we get this lineup here in probably 25-ish minutes, so probably right when we're wrapping up this game, has a chance to go and play 90 for Verdos tonight. Finley, Jimenez, Valencia, Urruti, Bersano, Bruin, Jeffel, good to see him back from the ankle issue, and Nick Lima, that rounded out the bench. And I guess last thing for me, I saw many people, and I was one of them, wondering, so why is Seba not on the injury report that's released late Friday night, early Saturday morning? I think early Saturday is when I saw the match notes. I think this is more of a thing for the league, in my opinion, because I get the gamesmanship of leaving a guy like Driussi, an MVP caliber player, off your injury report, bringing him on the trip with the knowledge that he's not playing. I guess technically they could have said he's game time decision. We're going to warm up, see how he feels, or something to that effect. But as a league, and maybe I'm just spoiled by what the NFL does, what the NBA does, but injury reporting in those leagues has always been very important, and has gotten more and more transparent, especially in the last couple of years. In my opinion, MLS needs to set some more ground rules for these clubs and their injury reporting, because we know from our bets and our fantasy endeavors that it is tough to dig up injury information on all these teams. So I guess are you with me on that at all? Like, because I would love to see some sort of standardization of, hey, Friday night, right? Like a last business day type of thing that they do in Next Pro, where like, here's our injury report. And of course, things can change. Guy could, stub his toe and be out if he's Anthony Davis, and that could happen right before the game. Yeah, you saw that. You heard that shot. But like, give us a baseline, because I don't think that, like, we know that there's some people in the fan base or connected to the team who knew Driussi was hurt and was not going to play. So that, to me, as a league, I'm not getting on Austin, because a lot of the teams do it. I think as a league, we need to progress towards more transparency on those injury reports for a multitude of reasons.
I mean, I'm 100% with you. And it's even more important now, obviously, when you see with the NBA and the NFL, the amount of gambling that's going on.
Sure.
The injury report is massive. You're going to make different picks. You're going to select different fantasy players. You're going to make different lineups depending on that. And now, obviously,
we wouldn't take Driussi anytime goal probably if we knew he was out.
That's right. Well, I wonder what Will Bruin anytime goal went off.
Right. Plus 10,000.
Yeah. I mean, it's, and the thing that's really frustrating and borderline kind of embarrassing about it is that this isn't the NBA where we have games Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We're playing Saturday,
and Saturday.
Saturday. Get your fucking like, it has to happen. Yeah. And I mean, it's just it's something that the league absolutely needs to improve upon, and something that can easily be improved upon. And like you said, it's really concerning that we had people in the Austin FC sphere who had this knowledge beforehand, before the league even knew.
Yeah.
So yes, I'm totally with you on that one. This has to get better. And I don't know how or when it can, but something needs to change, because this is not a good look for the league.
Yeah. And I think,
one of the biggest names in the league.
100%. If you're going off just transfer market player valuations, he's one of the most valuable assets in the league, and the league technically owns all the teams and all the players' contracts. So like the league should have an interest in this as well. And it's not like, again, from our point of view as the degenerates that we are, like it would be nice for the fantasy sports and the sports betting. Yeah. But just for fandom aside, like, again, it's not a one-to-one comparison at all. But when LeBron comes through your town, a lot of people buy tickets just to see a certain player, and knowing on Wednesday that, hey, maybe Driussi is out, maybe that only affects 3 people in the stadium, right? Maybe some Argentines up there in Portland want to come see their boy. We got Maxi there, we got Emmy there too. But again, like I said, I think there's just a multitude of reasons why that needs to be a move made going forward. So enough on that, I guess. Let's talk about this match, because it was, I think, just even for the casual observer, a fun match to watch, certainly in the second half. we'll get into it here in the 8th minute. Redis wins a free kick on the right side of the box, kind of pushed down with 2 hands. Then Lundqvist taking free kicks tonight, or some of them at least, took this one from the right side. Too short on that entry there. But then Danny gets onto the loose ball that was headed out by a Portland player. He pops it over to the left side of the box for Rigoni. Then Rigoni crosses it left to right, finds Leo's head, and kind of a dangerous headed flick on net. It goes just over the crossbar, but kind of the first 6-7 minutes there, really the first time that Austin, or either team, I guess I should say, was threatening. And overall, obviously it's easy to say this after how the game ended, but Austin right from the start there, I thought had more of an aerial presence in this game. And I think it frees up somebody like Leo to go up. If you know Julio is also there covering for you, or he's all as Leo is not the biggest guy on the field, he's not getting the number one matchup from Portland, right? Defensively, that physicality. Now other teams are going to have to pay more attention to a guy like Julio, who we know is an offensive threat, especially in the air. So I thought that was, again, that's just a promising thing to build on going forward, and something that we knew would come when Julio came back.
Yes. And I mean, we talked about it. What was he? He was second or something in
it was
chances created.
I think it was goals added, I think was the metric, where he was top 3 at worst. He might have been number 1 for center backs. But he was in that elite tier for sure.
Yes. And then boom, he comes back and we get two goals. And like you said, we had that aerial threat that we've been looking for from these sweeping crosses that we're playing into the box. And, I don't know if that's a direct testament to Julio for Leo to be, a little more free and have a bit more confidence with who he has behind him, but it looked good. And we looked much more physically imposing.
Mooch did not think so. But I mean, especially to your point, especially on those free kicks, those set pieces in the offensive half, the corner kicks, right? When those center backs can, progress up the field and really be a threat there. 5 minutes later, 13th minute, Portland controlling the possession early, and a flurry of Portland pressure really turns into multiple corners here. Luckily, it wasn't the string of corners that we've seen over the last month where it's 2, 3, sometimes 4 in a row for the opponents. But all of those corners at that point in the match were handled pretty well by the Austin defense. And then I did want to bring up Timbers Joey, the lumberjack with the chainsaw who cuts the log for him there. One thing I didn't know, and I assume he does this every match. I don't know why I didn't remember it from watching any of their matches, especially the ones against Austin. But on every corner kick, this dude is just revving his chainsaw. I was not a fan of that. Do it for the goals. We don't. It's like the NBA arena is playing the music every time down, every possession. Can we just listen to the game for a minute? I don't need fucking Timbers Joey revving his saw in my ear when I'm
a big saw too.
Yeah, it is.
That is not a small saw.
16th minute, beautiful flick on from Christian Paredes. Gets Frank Boley in behind the Austin line there. Luckily, he kind of takes a tough touch, and then Julio was able to recover and usher it out for the goal kick. But Portland really from 13th to 20th minute was extremely threatening here. 3 minutes later, the 19th minute, Portland counterattack sees Evander, who, God, is this guy good? I mean, they got to be feeling a lot better about their club record signing here after the last 2.5 games or so. He's coming down the left side here, turns John Gallagher all kinds of ways around. Fires a fantastic ball in front of the net, kind of across the face of goal, and Stuver gets a touch with his left hand there. And then luckily, Lundqvist there gets the ball out off of Frank Boley. But Evander, and this is a theme throughout the night, just creating chance after chance after chance for these guys.
He really makes them go.
29th minute, first real big, I thought, appearance of one of the Chara brothers. That was, I think, a plus for us, is that Jimmy Chara was not in Portland's 11. So he did come off the bench later, but having him off the pitch to start the match, I think was good for our guys without Driussi to be able to settle in a little bit better than maybe they could have otherwise. But his brother, Diego Chara, the elder, hard foul on Owen. I thought this was an easy yellow card. No card given, but like I get what he was like. The intent was not dirty at all, but he missed and totally took Owen out from kind of behind to the side of him. It's just like I thought it was definition of a yellow, but none given. Danny and Julio thought too. They came up right in the official's face. And then on that free kick, so we're 20 yards outside of the Portland area. Lundqvist takes it again. He scuffs this one. And Rigoni like gets down low, gets his head to it, pops it up high, and Ivacic comes out and corrals it pretty easily. But that was the second time in the first half where Adam took the free kick, and I was unimpressed.
Disappointed.
Yeah.
I don't know where that came from. I don't know if it's because Zani is gone and the left foot. I don't know. But yeah, nothing came from that was looking overly impressive or promising.
I felt like I was watching Pulisic trying to put a cross in at the World Cup. 33rd minute here. Evander again taking on Redis on the left. Puts a great ball in to the back post. And I thought Rodney could have done better here to kind of close down on Evander. Like that's a mismatch no matter what you try to say. Yeah. But I thought he was able to create space and get that cross in a little bit easier than we would like to see, even knowing that talent disparity there. And it's just great ball, back post. Dario Zuparic skies right over Lundqvist, heads it back across the goal, and like Stuver just looked helpless there. Which you don't see him. You don't see him just looking back behind him, watching the ball go into the net very often.
What did you think of that effort by Lundqvist? Do you think he was? Because like obviously he's not the most athletic guy.
Sure, he's short too, 5'8".
He's backpedaling.
Yeah.
He's not able to get a lot of lift on it. But, I mean, if you're a smaller kind of defensive player, you have to understand positioning. Mm-hmm. You have to be able to put yourself in the right position more. I was pretty disappointed with his effort on that play.
Yeah. I mean, maybe for me, it's not so much effort in terms, but I think positioning is where I'm really with you. Because the backpedaling, like and Zuparic is what, 6'2", maybe an inch, maybe 6'3". Like there's a significant size disparity there. So can he do better? Yes. But I didn't really think it was for lack of effort. But again, I think Adam certainly we didn't like seeing him in the lineup, but I thought overall, despite the issues we talked about with the crossing and this position issue here, I thought he did have a better game. I came away from the match, maybe it's just because my feelings overall were okay, but I came away from this match feeling better about him than I did coming in. Okay. Despite what we thought. Not crazy, not going crazy, not saying I want to see him start going forward every match, but yeah, so I did appreciate it. I thought we got a really good call from Max Bretos and Brian Dunseth last night saying Zuparic rising up like a salmon.
Yeah, and, a salmon.
I thought some interesting foreshadowing considering what type of animal rose up in the 92nd minute. 40th minute here, Frank Boley, yellow card for throwing down Julio. And Julio's certainly the first defender there, but it's the second one who gets caught. And that we know that's Julio's specialty. So I to me, that was the moment when I was like, he's back. Let's go.
Back. Yep.
Next minute, really good Austin buildup. Galley and Danny combine, and then Danny finds Redis with space on the right, just inside the 18. He has time to pick his head up and pick out Rigoni, crosses it right to his head. Rigoni gets his head to it, generates good power, but I think maybe a yard or two too far away from the goal to really be able to use that velocity on his header to get it past Ivacic. And regardless, it was kind of right at the keeper. I think that was our only shot on target in the first half, but good to see Emmy being a threat in the box there, especially with his head, and Rodney having the composure to pick him out like that in a moment where the defense is closing down on you in the box. So I thought that was a promising into the half, where at the time, like when we went to the locker room yesterday after the first 45, I was not feeling super confident about our ability to come back and get a result. But that was a lone bright spot here at the end of the half, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, why would you be feeling overly confident when, we're down 1-0 and our best player is not playing?
Yeah.
But yeah, the Rigoni and Redis chemistry has been fun to watch.
Yeah.
They've been overlapping, changing positions, eating up space, finding people on the wings. Like I've been pretty impressed with Redis, and obviously I was one person who was like, no, I do not want to see him
Yeah.
in the starting lineup going forward. But I'm happy to eat my words on that one because he has been more than fine in his work in Diego's absence.
Yeah. And it's hard to, like, with the current injury situation, it's hard to make a case to take him out outside of just pure exhaustion, because he has been serviceable at worst, I think.
Correct.
Getting into the second half here, a bit of a slow start to the half, I think, for both teams. Not a ton of chances. 56th minute, Claudio Bravo takes out Gallagher late near the sideline. Almost looked like he narrowly missed just putting his knee right into Johnny's groin. I thought a fair yellow card assessment there by the official. 3 minutes later, Julio starts the break. And again, like, I know we're praising Julio all the way through this podcast, but I think for good reason. Like, we talked about his distribution a couple weeks ago, and we know that Leo is good with the ball at his feet. He's a good passer. We know Alex Ring is a good passer. And we know Julio also, like, that's the reason he's on this team and plays the role that he does, is because Josh needs guys on that back line to start the attack, guys who are defenders who are good with the ball at their feet. And Julio starting the break here, like, I guess let's have this discussion now. I think we use this 3 at the back going forward. Like, I think this is how we get, especially when Owen comes back, right? Because Owen just left today for the U20 World Cup. Or that's at least what was reported. I think when we have everybody healthy, this is how you get Alex and Owen and Danny on the pitch all at the same time, is we run this 3 at the back, or 5, whatever, but with those wing backs pushing forward. Because when you have Leo on the left, Julio in the middle, Alex on the right, all 3 of those guys can distribute. Yeah. Whether it's in the short passing game, going through the midfield, or having that verticality with the long ball. We have seen all 3 of those guys successfully at one point or another this season, or seasons past, distribute like that. So I'm cautiously, maybe not even cautiously, I think I'm just optimistic about the tactical changes that Josh has made over the last 2 games. And again, figuring this thing out as we go, because look, as frustrating as it might be to some people, it's a marathon and you have to trust the process. And sometimes the process does not work out, but you and I, right, knew the adjustments were going to come.
Yes.
His hand was forced in some facets of this, but I think we may have stumbled upon something here that, at least for a while, until teams can adjust and we have to try something else, like this might be it.
I agree. And shout out to the coaching staff for these adjustments. Like, just the way we looked last night looked a little more fluid. And that's really saying a lot without Seba in there.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you knew somebody was going to do it, right? Somebody tried to Ewing theory Driussi. Are we better without him? Okay, come on.
The Wolf out squadron has turned into strength and conditioning coach out.
Yeah.
And an interesting pivot for that group of lunatics. But yeah, dude, to be able to have Alex, Julio, and Leo, to your point, in that back, and then get Danny and Owen out into that open field is great for us. And I mean, shit, imagine it with Seba in there. Could be really super promising. So, I mean, we touched on, going all the way back to the start of this season, we touched on how incredibly fortunate we had been with the injury bug last year. And then we got hit super hard this year. Obviously, I don't know every single team's injury prognosis and who has lost more people than us, but we have to be in the upper half of the league in regard to injuries to key players. I mean, we lost one of our best.
We gotta be top 5. There's no way.
Yeah. So this was, like you said, we could have stumbled onto something here, and shout out to coach and the staff for that. I was impressed.
So yeah, I mean, and from where I started here, Julio starts the break, nice pass, getting it to Rodney in the middle of the pitch. He turns, or I think he kind of the pass kind of hit Rodney on the run, I think, and then Rodney taps it left to Owen, and then Owen makes a great lead pass to Emmy running down the left side of the box, and Rigoni again, another great cross across the face of net. Saw Gallagher on that backside with his hand up, said, I'm open, and he finds him, and Gallagher buries it in the back of the net with the headed goal to equalize. His 4th of the season, and look, I know this guy is technically a defender now, but he's a winger.
Yeah.
He's playing as a winger
in
the majority of these games. Obviously, over some, like the last month, we've seen him play more of a true like fullback type of role. But yeah, man, it's great to see him get back on the board. Like the hot streak is not over. Mm-hmm. And man, if this is just his level now, and he continues this throughout the season, he's going to help keep us in contact with those last couple playoff spots while we're going through this tough spell. We did just get the FC2 lineup, so we'll cut in real quick here. We've got Damian in net, of course. We've got our top 4, I think, on the back line. Hafferty with the armband, Kip and Sal paired in the middle, and then Charlie out there on the left. Then we've got the Pitt Panther connection there with Valentin and Jackson. Bobo continuing to get run here in the 11. David Rodriguez, CJ, and AOC up top. Steve, Pino, Pinkham, EJ, Alonso, Toure, and Eric Lopez on the bench. So again, you and I put in some pretty significant calls here. I think I'm 3-0 with a CJ goal, and I think you are 4-0 with an EJ goal. So definitely excited to watch that match here once we finish. Part of the reason, not just your illness here, but so we can actually watch that game instead of recording during it. And just for the record, Austin FC here on the road, Austin FC 2, I should say, minus 235 favorites in this one.
Wow.
So yeah, we are not, I think we're spot on when we said on Wednesday's episode that this is the worst team that FC2 has faced on paper. Vegas certainly thinks so. Timbers are plus 500 to beat Austin FC 2. Ooh. Let's get it done, boys. Come on, a 3-0 or a 4-0. Give us some more things to brag about on social media.
Play our game. Yeah, play our game, not to their level.
Exactly. So excited for those guys, and we'll recap that on Thursday's episode. Back to the first team here. So right after the goal, we do see Jimmy Chara come in 60th minute. He enters for Marvin Loria. Skipping ahead here, 71st minute, a few moments of poor possession by Austin, like a turnover off a throw-in. Then we get the stop after I think they kind of played it into the box. We clear it out, get on the ball, and then Emmy turns it over. And
Portland, a bad turnover.
Yes, I thought both of them were. Just that whole sequence was poor, and it continues. Evander gets on the ball, which proved to be dangerous pretty much every time he had the ball at his feet. He finds Claudio Bravo about 6 yards outside the box, like left center of the spot, and he shoots, scores his first ever goal. Like this, and I said it, and on the replay, I get it that Brad might have been screened here by some of our defenders, some of their players. The ball does go, it looks like, through Rodney's legs and kind of squirts between two other players, but I would think Brad would agree with me here that he has to do better, and that was one of the lower moments of the season for him as a guy who's been one of our brightest spots in a season that's not necessarily going our way. That was very frustrating because I felt like at the time it deflated me for sure. I was like, man, we have no Seba, no Diego, but Julio's back, and we just scored 10 minutes ago, and Emmy, another goal contribution, and Redis is playing, and Owen's playing well, and Danny's continuing to, and now Stuver has a slip up.
That's exactly how I felt. Yeah. I was like, can we please just get a game where everyone plays solid? And I watched the highlight of this goal multiple times from as many different angles as I could to see if he couldn't see it. The only thing I really have to say about it is this is why you keep shots low on net like that, because it's the reaction time for a keeper to go up as opposed to going down is significant enough where if you keep those balls low, you can sneak one past the guy. And I mean, was this Stuver's worst game of the season? Fop Mob's got him at a 5.4.
Yeah. Well, we can pull up his game log here and I guess confirm that. But man, just like the eye test, right? Like I came away from that match at the end, even in the good spirits that I left the stream with.
Yeah.
I think it's his worst game of the year. He was 5.6 last week. But yeah, 5.4 certainly his lowest on the year. And I thought he was better last week than he was this week for sure. I don't know. I don't think I agree with the 5.6 last week, but algorithm probably knows more than me. Who knows?
That was a super deflating goal because it's like we had outplayed them for the duration of this game. And for them to squeak one by us. And look, they also had like a lot of kind of weird, awkward chances with like bouncing balls, and they're at weird angles and they're trying to like squeak one past Stuve. And for them to walk away with a goal from that shot was just really frustrating.
Yeah. And so obviously down 2-1 now. Here come the reinforcements, the subs. First in, Nick Lima comes in for Julio. I imagine that was relatively planned. Julio probably wasn't going to go the full 90 regardless last night. Maybe not. But so it was interesting to see how do we adjust now with this new formation, these different tactics, now that there's not a second true center back in there. Ended up being Leo moving to the middle, Alex going over to the left, and then Lima on the right. So not super surprising there, but I did just want to note what Josh actually did with that adjustment positionally. 4 minutes later, or I guess in between, I didn't write this down in my notes, but I vividly remember, like, I don't think Nick had a touch yet, and they got a little chance in the box, and Alex was kind of messing around with his head, didn't clear it, and then Nick came in and tried to clear it, and he whiffs. And like, luckily, I think it was Boley still at this point that put the shot over the net. But
wait, is this the play where Alex is like holding it on his head?
Yes.
Why didn't he fucking like stop and kick it out of bounds?
I don't know.
I don't know what was like going to walk that back to Stuver like a fucking seal. Like, I was really perplexed at that. And then that was one of those chances where it's like it's a dangerous chance and it's kind of a weird broken play.
Yeah.
And they couldn't really get it out to be a real threatening look on the net.
Yeah, and luckily that didn't end up being like a Frank Boley curtain call, but he does come out 4 minutes later, 78th minute. Niezgoda and Asprilla in for Boley and Paredes. And like, this is not to the same degree as some of the teams that we've played with a Douglas Costa coming off the bench, a Carlos Vela and Ilie. But, Darren Asprilla is pretty fucking good. And Niezgoda is not bad either, although he is pretty much a bench, a role player at this point. But
yeah.
It didn't make me feel any better to see, especially Dyron coming in there. 3 minutes later, 81st minute, good combo here between Zardes and Redis to break Austin free in the midfield. Then they do slow the game down and settle into the offensive half. Johnny G finds Owen in the middle of the pitch. Portland tries to close him down, and he does what he does, I think, maybe best in the midfield is split two defenders who are closing down on him and just like, I'm 18 years old and I'm just more athletic than you.
Yeah.
30-year-olds in the midfield or however. I mean, he made those guys look silly on that play. I thought he also did well then to find Zardes, and Zardes didn't have a ton of bright spots on the night. I don't think he was terrible. But this chance gets the pass from Owen, great hold up there at the top of the box, and picks out Rigoni on to his right, so left of the goal. And Rigoni takes the shot from a little bit outside the box and it kind of goes right at Ivicic. But that whole play and that whole buildup was promising. Again, you see the fight in this team that seemed to be absent a few weeks ago. And again, Are we happy with one even on the road? No, we want the full 3 points. But again, the fight is promising and something to build on. And if you can't be at least a little bit optimistic and acknowledge that there are good things going on in the last 2 games, even though we've only got 2 points from them, you just want to be miserable then, I think.
I mean, I'm super happy with a point going up there, not having Seba. Like, to get a point at Providence Park is not an easy task.
We've never done it.
Yeah, I was super proud of this team. We never quit, even after they got that bullshit Claudio goal that kind of sneaks by Stuver. We didn't quit. We didn't let the Seba injury be an excuse for us to kind of pack it in. And that's a shout out to not only the players, but to the fucking coaching staff.
Yep.
As well. To have
having
those
them ready
and prepared to go. And guess what? The best player on the pitch last night, Owen fucking Wolff.
Yeah.
And
I agree.
Just for the people out there who are dumb enough to think that he's only playing because he's the coach's son, please pick up your cell phone. It's called a smartphone. You might not have the smart part involved, but if you look it up, Josh Wolff doesn't coach the fucking U20. He doesn't coach that fucking team. And Owen's going to play for him because he's fucking good. And he was the best player on the pitch last night. So shut up. Like, it's insane, bro.
Yeah. Well, hey, and look, we've been big time Owen defenders throughout the majority of the season. We've also acknowledged when he's had down games. He has not been perfect, and we should not hold him to that standard. And mostly playing out of what is reportedly his favorite position at the 10, more of a center attacking midfielder. So I mean, I got nothing else to add.
Oh my God, bro. Yeah. So he gets the hockey assist on the first goal. Yeah. Right? And here he comes.
And how do we get that point? Before we do, 84th minute. And here's again adjustments by Josh. I can't believe even last year I was seeing people say that Josh never makes adjustments. Man, sometimes your substitutes don't work out. But like I feel like consistently he is making substitutions to try to get a result, whether we're trying to bunker in and hold on to 3 points or even 1 point on the road, or throwing everything forward as a last desperate attempt to get a goal to equalize or to go ahead. And 84th minute here, triple sub, Finley, Urruti, Bruin, in for Zardes, Redis, Lundqvist. I mean, that is, again, I saw some people on Twitter literally saying, like, I can't believe Josh doesn't make subs. He doesn't ever adjust. Did you watch the end of the game? Even if Will doesn't score that goal, the adjustments were made.
Exactly. There's only
Josh can only work with who is on the roster. And again, Josh was not the GM before this offseason.
Yeah.
And Claudio was still in the position till January? So like the roster was set. We were in training camp. I don't think you can blame Josh Wolff for the depth issues on this roster. Like,
the people were ready. They were so ready at the 80th minute of that game to go hog wild.
We had people saying at the end of this game is making me think Wolff out right before Bruin. Yeah. You can't hold off on press and send for 5 more minutes to not look like a doofus?
Yeah, to not look like a complete idiot. And then you go on the space and then you have nothing but good things to say, but you don't want to talk about the fact you want to hold other people to standards, but you can't fucking hold yourself to a standard of sending out a stupid fucking tweet. Come on. Like, man, it's just frustrating, man.
Yeah. 87th minute, Zuparic, yellow card, kind of just, I guess, the number of fouls, I think how Dunseth put it, the persistent infringement, that was overdue, I thought.
When he scored the first goal, and I was going to say some bad things about him because he was a scumbag all night. But finally got that card that he deserved.
Yeah. 90th minute, Finley's cross from the right finds Will Bruin's head, gets called for a foul for a shove. Looked like a little bit of embellishment there. Luckily, the ball did not go in the net, so we didn't have a controversial situation there. But 2 minutes later, second minute of stoppage time, the Verde break into the Portland half, kind of settle it down on the left side. Finley and Owen combine through that Portland pressure. Ultimately, Wolff gets it near the sideline. Excuse me, I think I just said left side. Right side, of course, where Finley and Wolff are operating here. Ultimately, Owen gets it kind of near the sideline, has a ton of time on this to pick his head up and like pick his spot for the cross. But a lot of players can do that, right? And this was a beautiful ball. And then credit to Will Bruin too for doing what, like, this is what he was brought here to do. This is why when we're searching for a goal in the closing moments of the Violette game or the Colorado game or the Vancouver game, these draws that we've seen, this is why Will Bruin is on the team. And like, is he the best possible third stringer we could have? No. And have we ever said a bad thing about Will Bruin? No, of course not. But no, I mean, we have certainly complained plenty about Will and his presence on the team, and we've said some things about him that were not nice. And look, I'm sorry, Will. I still don't think I want to see you out there starting really at this point. But I think he proved last night his worth in the role that he's in on this team.
100%. 100%. A veteran,
yeah,
a guy who's going to do his job, and big ups to him. Like,
yeah, saved the point.
Saved it.
Yeah.
And so, like, let's go back to earlier in this game
where
they got their first goal and that ball from Evander and how nice that ball was. This ball from Wolff was better.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. Yeah. A great game by him. Owen does get the man of the match. And to be honest, I think like a close second for me, like the runner-up, is Rigoni. I thought Rigoni had a great game as well.
Rigoni played great. Look, I don't want to say this was our best game of the season, but this was a really impressive game. I think that there is a lot to walk away from this game that is positive. I think we can build from this. I think we can get some good momentum going. And especially going into Wednesday, you know, we have a team that's not as talented as us coming into town. So let's beat them up.
Yes, absolutely. So closing out this one again, Owen, man of the match. XG from FOTMob here, 1.44 for Austin, 0.79 for Portland with the 2-2 draw. So again, like it's everybody's favorite stat until it isn't, right? But I think it does confirm what I felt like watching the game is that we were the better team. But again, and man, I get so frustrated watching people, like hearing people, especially people that like I tend to respect their like soccer acumen or really any sport, but people who just dump on the analytical stats like they're nothing. Like we didn't watch the Oakland A's 20 years ago, and then we haven't watched basketball fundamentally change with the revolution of analytics in that sport. And like, again, like, you know, somebody's player efficiency rating in basketball does not actually mean, it's just like it's a piece to the puzzle, right? Exactly. It's a part of the recipe to getting the best data and information you can to be the best, most efficient team or player that you can be. And so again, just a personal rant there. Like I heard some people this week, saw some people saying that it's like it doesn't mean anything to them. And like, I don't know, bro. Like I think if you are serious about really any sport, especially soccer, like you have to give some respect to these metrics. But again, it is not everything, because you win the XG battle, you tie the game. So like, I understand that it's not everything, but it is something.
It's not the end all be all.
Of course. No stat is outside of the score.
Correct. So there's a balance to be had with it, because obviously you can't play the game just in a numbers driven sense. There's the human component, human aspect, all kinds of things that you can't measure, but it is an integral part of forming a quality club. You have to understand these things, because you have to put yourself in the best position you can be in to get those goals. And
absolutely,
like we've seen from all kinds of different games throughout our tenure here with Austin FC, some weird balls bounce in. You have a defender blast the ball into their own net. A guy pass the ball back to the different team. Like that shit happens.
Yeah.
You know? And soccer's a fickle sport, but you need to have those numbers to understand a little more in depth of how we can put our guys in the position that they need to be in to be as successful as possible.
And look, if you don't have a solid, at least an average analytics department in any sport in this day and age, you are behind the eight ball.
That's why Charles Barkley's an announcer, not a coach.
Yeah, 100%. Same with Shaq. 11 shots to 9 in favor of the good guys. 4 shots on target to 3 also in favor of ATX. 9 of those 11 shots for Austin were inside the box, something we have been looking at over the last few games, and that number is trending upward in terms of the percentage of our shot attempts coming in that area where we know this team not just only is trying to score their goals, but did last year and has continued to. Like the bangers from outside the box, looking back to like the RSL game, that's the outlier. Like we're going to have some more, and it's great. Like I'm not saying don't shoot outside the box, but the majority of them coming inside that 18 is good to see. 5 corners to 3 in favor of the Timbers, but 53% Austin possession. I did see a stat today. I don't remember if it was from Opta or who put it out, but I believe winless were the MLS teams with 52% or more possession yesterday. 9 losses, 2 draws for the possession-heavy team. So at least it's good to be one of those 2 teams picking up a point while dominating the ball, or at least having the majority of possession. Couple quick takeaways here at the end. Like we said, and like most people know, first goal at Portland, first result at Portland. Those are positives. And then let's flex our belief a little bit more in our boy Emi Rigoni. The goal contribution streak has begun. And it's 2.
Oh yeah.
So let's keep that going, Emi.
Yes, sir.
But I think to put some more context around him over the last 2 months or so, he has goal contributions now in 3 of the last 8 games in all competitions. So I'm looping in again. It's how I make this stat work. So I understand I'm biased in my sample size here, but last 8 matches, which includes that second leg against Violette, he has contributed in 3 of 8 games, which the only other player on the team who has contributed in 3 of those 8 games is Driussi. So again, Rigoni is doing the job that we wanted him to do over the last 8 games. The team has to come together and start getting the results that are giving us 3 points. But just from an individual perspective, again, like this is why we believed in the guy, right? Some of those underlying metrics showed that he was going to start contributing. And was it take him in the 6th round of best ball type of analytics? Probably not, but that's our guy. We're riding with him, and it's good to see, and similar to Owen, similar to just seeing the overall positives over the last 2 weeks. If you can't be happy for the team and for Rigoni, then you want to be miserable.
Yeah.
I know
I'm miserable right now, but it's not because of
it's not because of Emi. We talked about the distribution from the back looking so much better with those 3 guys alongside each other. Do you think this is where we see Ring playing going forward? I mean, we may not be able to if we look better with Ring in the midfield compared to Johan or Sophie, but we have the option to fill in Owen's spot with Johan or Sophie and keep Ring back there. Do you think that's what we see going forward?
I don't know. Again, this coaching staff has some difficult decisions to make in this upcoming month. Obviously, losing Seba to the injury and now Owen to the U20s makes us even thinner. Again, just to emphasize how much of a gut punch this Seba injury is. Jeffel was just getting healthy, just getting back. So it's going to be interesting to see where Alex kind of ends up. But like we said, there was a lot to be happy about from this game and stuff to build on. So I could foresee him, it might just be something similar to what we've done with Johnny here, and we try to plug Alex in where we can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like you said, I mean, I guess I don't have much else to add. It's going to be interesting to see what they do going forward with the situation we find ourselves in personnel-wise. And I know we said it all. You've mentioned the coaching staff multiple times already this episode, but I'm not going to go after any other fans who I continue to see. Not like the Wolf Out crowd is quiet as fuck right now. And I props to Josh. Like we see you guys, coaches. The adjustments are evident, and we still we're building on it, right? Still got a ways to go. But we see the effort being made on the sidelines, and that's what a lot of people have been calling for. And I either they see it and they're quiet, or they don't see it and they're just not looking for it. So Looking at the standings here, Austin actually drops to 12th in the West. Colorado got a win. Salt Lake got a draw, so they stay above. Colorado jumps us. Portland stays above us with the draw last night. But even sitting in 12th, we are 2 points out of the 8 seed. We are 4 points out of the 6 seed with 24 games to go. For me, during this period with Seba out, let's say it is 4 weeks, the upper range of that time frame that has been reported. If we get 4 weeks from now and we are within 3 points of that like 8-9 seed, I think that's a big positive because you just have to get in. We want to be as high as we can in the table, of course. We picked Austin second again in the West, I think, to start the year, second or third in our prediction. So obviously this is not what we did not see this coming.
Yeah.
But getting into the playoffs at this point should be a goal. And once you get in, you just got to be in form in October.
Look at the Miami Heat.
Absolutely.
I know we're doing a lot of cross-sport jumping here, but you do just got to get in. And particularly in soccer, it can be a little easier to just skate by with a cheeky win.
Absolutely. And it's just things can change so quickly, whether you have a good run of form, you have a favorable schedule for a couple weeks. Like, look at Montreal, man. Like, Romel Kyoto came back last night, I think, off the bench. But even with him, they suck.
Yeah.
3 wins in a row, 12 points. They are tied for the 10 seed out East. They are 2 points back of the 6 in the East. Just like that.
The East is a joke.
See, I don't know. Is it though? Like they got some squads over there, man. I mean, they got DC United in the East. I mean, for real, the Revolution, Cincy, Nashville, Atlanta, NYC, Columbus, Philly. That's the top 7. Those I don't feel good playing any of those teams right now if it's Austin.
I just think that the West is deeper.
Sure. And well, I hold our top teams in the West in higher regard than the top teams in the East, I think. LA and Seattle. And like I it's a tier below, but I think FC Dallas is really good too. So unfortunately, they're coming to town next Saturday. We'll preview that match on Thursday. Let's talk a little bit, I guess, about some of the results last night. Just a couple that caught my eye. We'll check in on those assholes, right? Dallas, that match was actually postponed in the 50th minute. I can tell you, there was a lot of lightning up there in Dallas last night. Little rain on Timmy's wedding day. It's good luck. So we'll see when that game.
Analytics.
Yeah, there you go. They're going to resume that match in the 50th minute at a later date. The Orange team, boring draw at home, 0-0 against RSL. So, the perfect bet did not work out for the wallet, but 1 point at home for Houston. I believe that is their first points dropped at home this season. So more of that, please, to come.
Yeah. These teams have been playing well to start, but again, if we look at the way that that Austin FC finished last year, we tailed off.
Yes.
Right? I would much rather be getting hot and getting healthy at the end of this season. And look, it's kind of shaping up that way. Yeah.
Absolutely.
With the injury bug, we know it's random. We know it happens. It can happen at any point in time, but you do have to assume that these guys will be healthy going forward at the right time.
Yeah. Treading water until then is key. Just, I guess, let's check in on the LA teams here. San Jose and LAFC's unbeaten streak out there in San Jose. Christian Espinoza, brace, 8th minute goal, 83rd minute penalty. Buanga gets on the board again for LAFC, but 2-1 San Jose. So, does that make you feel maybe just a smidge better about getting that result against them? I mean, they're a quality side, San Jose. Yeah. And then who doesn't love a good revenge game? Galaxy taking on the Rapids. Rapids 3-1. Kevin Cabral with the goal. Obviously, the DP for the Galaxy, who I think the Galaxy paying the majority of his salary to play for Colorado. Kevin Cabral's really only bright spot previous to last night was the goal, the equalizing goal against Austin at Q2. So I'm glad that now he has a new high point of the season. And, we can completely put his goal against Austin in the past. Austin sitting 26th in the Shield standings, but 4 points back of 11th overall in the league, 5 points back of the 9 spot, 24 games to go, everybody. I know we're getting to the point where the length of the season excuse, that it's early, cannot be used at all. And it's not super early anymore. It's May. We started in February. But we said, I think at the end of March, that we were going to give the team till the end of May before we completely hit the panic button. So still a little bit of time there, and things certainly trending in the right direction. Let's close things out talking about Wednesday's match coming up, which I guess, you probably in the health and safety protocol still then. So unfortunately, probably no E in the North End on Wednesday, but I will be there, and we will be taking on New Mexico United. Little bit about New Mexico. Relatively young squad, a little bit older than us, founded in 2018. They began play in the USL Championship Division in the 2019 season. In that season, their inaugural season, they led the USL in average attendance. So we have heard stories that their fan base is rabid, especially at that USL level. Very strong fan base there, passionate fan base, which we love to see. We encourage that, no matter if it's MLS or USL or, down the street at the rec center. I don't know. We love seeing passionate fans out there cheering on their team. I thought this was cool. The name and colors of the club, colors, by the way, black and yellow, those were determined by fan suggestions or like fan voting. So I thought that was pretty cool, getting that franchise started there, including those fans in the process. Their main rivals, El Paso Locomotive, who obviously we know well, and Phoenix Rising FC. They did participate in the 2019 Open Cup there in their inaugural season. They beat the Rapids and FC Dallas in the 2019 tournament before losing to Minnesota United. That Minnesota United match was on the road. The club chartered a plane taking 180 fans up to that Minnesota match. So again, I think we might see a decent traveling contingent here, which is going to be fun. We haven't seen much of that this season at Q2 in terms of the away fans, really maybe like St. Louis in the first match. But we're about to get a dose of it. If it's not New Mexico, Dallas coming to town on Saturday. So last year in the Open Cup, they lost in the third round, a 2-1 loss to their rival Phoenix. So I know that was probably a tough one for them. Managed by Zach Prince. Zach Prince is a 35-year-old former pro. He spent his entire playing career with the Charleston Battery from 2010 to 2016. So shout out Charlie Asensio. He was the first assistant for the team from 2019 to 2021, and then was made the head coach. Looking at what they've got going on currently, New Mexico United sitting in 9th out of 12 teams in the Western Conference there in the USL. 2 wins, 2 draws, and 3 losses. -1 goal differential, 10 goals for, 11 goals against. Chris, I think Wehan, Wehan. That is their all-time club leader in goals with 37. He has 6 MLS appearances with San Jose some years ago. Only 2 appearances this year, 1 goal in those 2 games. I think he's just coming back from injury because those are the last 2 games that this team has played. So Wehan, somebody we're going to be looking out for sure on that scouting report. Very spread out production from this team so far on the young season. Nobody has more than 2 goals, and Josh Dalling leads them in goals plus assists with 3. So the production is coming from everywhere from this team. And don't let the 9th place fool you. They're 5 points out of 6th, a game in hand on the entire conference, and 2 games in hand on half of the conference. So while I think that this is a team we should handle, again, don't let the 9th out of 12th fool you. It is still early in their season as well. Coming off a 2-2 draw yesterday on Saturday against RGV, where check this out. They scored their first goal in the 91st minute and equalized in the 92nd. One thing I didn't do this afternoon is try to go find they have to have put out a highlight of that somewhere.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I can't imagine the energy with that comeback, whether it was home or on the road. Like, pretty impressive. So they're coming in on a high. Any thoughts for you on the information that I'm spitting out at you over the last 5 minutes? A lot of it to take in.
I don't think that. I think my greatest fear is that our team will not take this game lightly, but not play to the standard that we can play to. And I think that we need to be humble going into this game and understand that we're not firing on all cylinders by any stretch of the imagination. And we're going to have to grind one out here and get the job done no matter what and no matter who's on the pitch for us at this point in time. We're banged up, but we may have unlocked some really great things about this club out of necessity. So I'm excited for it. I'm excited for the guys to get back to Austin and hopefully build on what I thought was a really impressive outing up there in Portland.
Yeah, and the last thing I will add about New Mexico before we talk about the good guys, their third round Open Cup win this year, 2-1 over Phoenix Rising. So got those bastards back. I mean, you got to have a rubber match next year.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Let's talk about us here. No Owen reportedly left today for the U20 World Cup. And of course, no Driussi by all accounts. And I think Diego, they're targeting, I believe, the Dallas match on Saturday. So without the services of those three guys on Wednesday, I guess let's try to piece together what we think we're going to see and add in a little sprinkle, a little spice of what you want to see if you've got it. How do you think we're rolling out our 11 against New Mexico?
Well, let's start at the 9 and whatever the hell is going on up there.
Yeah. Let me interject.
Okay.
Will Bruin, because I've seen some people call for Will Bruin to start now because, I understand the other two guys have not been great. But by his own admission, he says he can only play 40 to 60 minutes comfortably. So can he play 90? Probably. But if he says I can only play 40 to 60 and that's what I can give you like my best, he probably ain't starting. And if he starts, I imagine he's coming out at half. But then on the other side of the extreme, we have people saying like, Will Bruin still sucks. We should never play him. It's like, you can't give the guy any credit for what you saw last night. Come on. Sorry. It's probably not Will Bruin, I think, at the 9.
Come on, man. You know that these people know better than coach. No, I don't think it's going to be Will Bruin starting. We didn't really get to talk about Maxi during the minutes breakdown there because he wasn't, really involved in much. But I did think he brought in a good amount of energy into that game when he came off, and I'm really happy and satisfied to see that. I've been tough on Maxi this season, and part of that has come from the fact that we've been so polarized between G and Maxi as a fan base. So I do think Maxi will get the start here at the 9. Obviously, no Seba. Man, you got to stick with Redis. Jeffel? We getting Jeffel in Owen spot?
Well, so that's what I was going to say, that I think not just Jeffel, but I think I'm a fan of going Jeffel Valencia here and giving Danny some time off.
I think I'm on board with that as well.
Because we need, I would much rather rest these guys who haven't got much of a break, if at all, this season. Much rather rest them in this game. And then, look, if we get to the 55th, 60th minute and we're struggling, bring them on. But let's get these other guys some time as well, especially the guys where it's supposed to be or not supposed to be much of a drop off between those guys, right? They are very much first teamers. They are in the rotation. So let's let them prove that they deserve to be in that role still.
What do you think about Emmy? You think he needs to get rotated?
Fuck, man. Can we really play? Like, people
what I'm
probably laugh at me saying, I don't. Like, he's like our like. I feel like he played so much more free last night without Seba there, and like some other guys did too. And so I think, again, we kind of joked about the Ewing theory there with Seba, but I think there's certainly a difference because we're not centered around trying to find number 10 now.
Mm-hmm.
And other guys are able, out of necessity, to step up their games on the offensive side of the ball, especially. So, man, I really don't think we have, if we have the intention of moving on in this competition, which I think we do, and I personally think we need to go all out in the Open Cup. Of course, not all out in playing our best 11 we possibly can, 90 minutes here, but still play to win, play with, like you said, the respect of the opponent, the respect of the competition, and the reality that we are 5 wins away from winning the Open Cup, which gets you a trophy, which gets you back into CCL next year. And whether you think we're ready for that or not, I would like to see that. Okay. And one of the 5 wins is up against a USL opponent, which I know we're 0-1 against USL teams, but like, we have a good draw here. If we get past this one, we're 4 wins away from the cup. And I think that the semifinal and the final are not till like August and September. So it's not like we're committing the next 2 months to going after this cup.
Yeah.
I feel it's very much the opposite. Next round would be at the end of May, which is a tight squeeze. But yeah, I don't think we have the luxury, if we're taking this seriously, to rest Emmy. And he shouldn't, I don't think he should need rest either. Because again, this is where you earn the tag. You earn the salary here as the second highest paid player on the team with the leader out. Now you are the guy. Now he's the highest paid healthy player on the team. He's been performing really well lately. You got to continue it, and you got to be the Iron Man now with Diego out and with Seba out. And as those guys continue to come back, that's when we give you your breather. I don't think it can come on Wednesday.
Okay. I'm with that. I do think we're going to see a heavily rotated lineup. But again, just out of necessity, Emmy will have to be in there.
Yeah.
Given the current status of this roster.
Do you think it's heavy enough rotation where you see Bradley get the night off? Yeah. Because then I'm like, I've already said, I want to see Damian over Bersano, but I also don't think not everything has to be fair, but I don't think it's fair to not give Matt the nod if Brad's not in there. So like my fandom says, I want to see Damian, but I think the reality is if you're rotating Stuve out of there, I think we're going to see Bersano in that case. Mm-hmm. So, and that doesn't make me feel great, but Matt, we haven't seen you play yet for us. So obviously we're behind you. Just, prove me wrong.
I don't think Stu gets rotated here.
Okay.
Just out of the fact that we're going to be so heavily rotated and without so much of our, pillars,
the core
amongst this team, that he will have to go kind of out of necessity here, just so that we have some of that continuity. And obviously the keeper is such a huge component and aspect of the squad in terms of vocal leadership, in terms of getting guys into the right space. There has to be a great amount of trust between the defense and the keeper. So no, I don't think Stu is rotated here, and I hope he isn't. I think Cascante plays, starts, and I think we get him out again at the right time, an appropriate time. With the Maxi start, honestly, I do think that Bruin might be the sub there.
Sure. Yeah. And then you see G starting on the weekend, maybe.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And then you see G on versus FC Dallas.
Sure. I think the only other things I would add is I think this is the game where you rest Leo. He's been an Iron Man for us, like him and Alex. And so like maybe both of those guys, but you get new Alex in there, and we see Rado make his debut maybe next to Julio. Because you have that calm presence of Julio, like Leo's a little bit newer. Now you're bringing Rado in next to, I imagine Julio's wearing the armband again if he's out there and playing. And then the fullbacks or wingbacks, whatever, if we're playing the 5 at the back, then those guys are going to be forward. And if we're playing that, I would like to see Johnny out there again. I think Lundqvist was fine. We know Hector can contribute in the offensive half. Maybe we see Hector make his second appearance of the season. Again, still hasn't appeared in league play, but maybe he gets out there for some time as well. I have less of an idea of what Josh is going to do at the fullback position, I think, than near almost every other position. I think that could go every which way possible.
Yeah, this is a game where I won't really be shocked with whatever we roll out because I don't really have a good answer for what we're going to do. Just given the opponent, the fact that it's a non-league game, the fact that we're so beat up, and the fact that we have, a very heavy schedule in this month here.
Yeah. Well, one thing left to do before we get out of here, score predictions. I know you are not predicting an Austin FC loss against this team. So I will ask you, E, for our Wednesday matchup in the Open Cup, how much is Austin FC winning by?
2-0.
2-0.
Nils.
Oh, well, you can, I guess, can you get help when you're down 2-0? You got to be down 3-0 to have no help.
You can only ask for help when you're down 3-0.
Apologies to literally everybody else who has no idea what we're talking about. I will go 3-1. I think I'm certainly not afraid of predicting multiple goals against this team after what we've seen the last 2 weeks. A little bit shaky on 3. Like maybe that's asking a lot of our guys, but I think we do. Especially if we get an early one. I think we get these guys back on their heels and can put multiple goals past New Mexico. But I do worry because of the rotation we think we're going to see, especially if we get a guy like Radovanovic. I don't care how good he is. Your first time in front of our crowd, like there's going to be jitters. There's going to be some nerves there, some anxiety. It's good, right? You're ready to go. Yeah. Like if you don't feel some of that, you just may not have the juice. So I think they do sneak one past us. If you've got that combination with the outfield players and maybe Matt Bersano in net, I think we give one up. So we'll love to see the clean sheet, of course, but 3-1 is what I'm going with. So I guess that'll do it, man. You need to get back to being horizontal. We got to get you healthy, clear the protocols before Saturday. Man, I appreciate you gutting it out with me. The flu game, the flu pod. Well done, sir. And appreciate you for listening and tuning in to episode 53 of the North End podcast. If you've got 5 seconds to rate, review, and subscribe to the pod, we would greatly appreciate it. And, tell your friends. If you've got friends trying to beef up their Austin FC content rotation and the North End pod is not in it, tell a friend, send them a link, send them the Twitter feed, send them the pod. Help us grow the channel. When I talk about the channel, the YouTube channel, if you're watching on YouTube, you can subscribe to the channel, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell to know when a live stream pops up or a new episode goes live. And of course, on this episode, hit the thumbs up, like the video, help us battle the YouTube algorithm overlords. Atone for your sins. Wash yourselves clean in the COVID of the North End. Well, in the Purell of the North End. Hey, let's just say, I've had COVID twice. It came from the North End both times. So it was keep it a little dirty down there. I don't know. So appreciate everybody tuning in. That'll do it for us here on episode 53. We will be back on Thursday recapping the match against New Mexico United, recapping Austin FC 2's match against T2, previewing the first team's match against FC Dallas on Saturday, and then previewing FC 2's match at Rapids 2 coming at us next Sunday. Enjoy the beginning of your week. We will see you all on Thursday. Until then, he's E. I'm Zach. Vamos Austin FC, everybody. Goodbye.